you have ever wanted an awesome deal on a pottery mug, today is your day. These pots just came out of the kiln, brought them outside to see everything in natural light. And this is a grab bag sale. So we do these sales because it lets us price a lot lower. It lets us get just a random selection of pottery all together, and then we can price it way lower than having to individually photograph, thousands of photos of all these pots. So grab bag sales available today. It's mostly mugs. So I'm going to talk about the different styles of mugs out here in the natural light. Hopefully we get a little bit of sunlight. And the other types of pottery I include, because I include more valuable things. So you might get like a casserole baker for baking in the oven. You might get one of my Lunar bowls that normally retail for about $800 each because they're so intricate. And this is going to go out to one customer for 49 bucks. So that's what's so exciting about these grab bag sales. 2 dinner plates are going to ship to one person. And okay, I think I'll just talk about the different styles of the pottery that I made this month along with my team here at Cherrico Pottery. There are some vase pairings, so some customers are going to get a vase and bowl pairing. Will, who's holding the camera, actually made these bowls. This is the second form that he's learned to throw at Cherrico Pottery. He's learning our processes, and so he threw all these bowls, and he and Cortland glazed them in this Nuka glaze. So I thought that was a nice bowl pairing that some people are going to get, but most of it this month was mugs. So let's talk about the different styles. This was triple fired, this type of mug that I fired a third time because sometimes the Nuka glaze, where's a Nuka glazed piece? It's rustic, and part of that rustic quality comes from the imperfections in the glaze. I mean, we've got a little bit of sunshine here, so you can see the color differences, but you can also see a lot of speckles. You can see little pinholes. You can see flaws that happen in the glaze. And I love those characteristics. They come from the fact that this has wood ash in the glaze. It's a main ingredient that I just get from friends who have wood stoves, and it gives you a rustic quality and feel for a dishwasher safe coffee mug. But if there are too many imperfections, then I fired a third time. So I dipped this in a black glaze, and when it's fired a third time, it turns blue and melts the glaze more. So every once in a while, you'll see these blue pieces, not very often, but they're fired a third time. I think there's gonna be about a dozen in this sale. I did a lot of soup mugs, a lot of like wide mugs, a little bit of extra clay for in and out of the microwave. Because the pottery gets really hot, it absorbs heat really quickly, and a thicker pot will hold that heat for a long time. So for hot drinks, you're gonna want a handle. Another experimental kind of splashy, brushy style of glaze. This was a black glaze, but it does turn slightly blue when it's thin and it's underneath a clear glaze. I don't use much cobalt in my pottery anymore because there's humanitarian issues with cobalt, but it's still in about 2% of one of my glazes. So you'll see hints of blue showing up here and there, either dark blues, blacks, but that difference between light blue and dark blue is just the thickness of the glaze. When the glaze gets thinner or thicker, it changes color. So these are just in time for 4th of July. A little bit of red, white, and blue going on. Lots of splashy pots this time. This is iron oxide on a light colored clay. That's what it looks like on a dark colored clay. And so I call these experimental because I just like the freedom to be able to just splash and explore shape and form, and that's it. And just make something interesting through shape and form. So this was iron oxide splashed and brushed underneath a clear glaze. Occasionally I'll dip in another glaze, the ash glaze again, will cause fluxing. So sometimes I like to add just a little bit of ash glaze on top to change the color and the quality of the glaze. What else did we make this month? A lot of Lunar asteroid cups, and in different styles. So sometimes I'll use iron oxide on these, and they're kind of inspired by the surface of Mars, which is iron oxide, or the moons that orbit Mars, Phobos and Deimos, the 2 moons around Mars, that are kind of potato shaped. They're not perfect circles. So I like to experiment with these styles of, I call them like asteroid mugs or lunar mugs, and sometimes they get a little more abstract, like with bright oranges or reds. just for fun, just to see where the art is going to go. And again, these are normally around $200 to $300 each, but in the grab bag sale, I can price them a lot lower. So there's maybe a dozen or so of the various types of lunar pots in this firing. One Neptune mug hung sideways in the kiln, inspired by the planet Neptune. This one's a little bit nipply. Mostly Nuka pottery has a little bit of green. Sometimes they have some green. Occasionally I'll put copper green on the Nuka glaze, but most of them I'd say are just iron oxide and Nuka. A lot of spiral mugs. Maybe 25% of the pottery is some form of spiral mug in this month. This style was inspired by my trip to the Smithsonian Museum of the American Indian and seeing contemporary and historical Native American pottery and contemporary Navajo pottery specifically. They did things in sets of fours historically as part of their spirituality to think about the four seasons and the four directions. So I started working in carvings in series of fours after seeing a lot of their carved Navajo pottery. So this is a style I brought back recently. Just a few mugs like this one. I don't know what inspired this handle. It just seemed to fit with this design. So there are, I think, 3 of these mugs with this handle and iron oxide on the surface. And some of these mugs are photographed right now in our store as well. But if you want the best deal, grab bag pottery is the way to go. Also, the first 100 people who purchase are going to get these. We're going to keep shipping them out until they run out, but just stickers and postcards. We're liquidating all the rest of our stickers and postcards. So we're going to put these in with the first 100 orders until they all run out. And that includes a piece of handmade paper that my wife made. We planted this prairie behind us. So in the coming years, we'll be able to harvest grasses from the prairie to use for making paper by hand, which is an art practice that my wife practices. So she made this paper. These grasses in here are local grasses from, not this prairie because we just planted it, but other prairies. And this is the logo, the Cherrico pottery logo that I hand painted with India ink that I put on each pot. So that's going to go with the first 100 orders as well. That pretty much covers it. Grab bag pottery for this month. CherricoPottery.com/grabbag. Thanks for taking a look. Bye.